Hi there friends and welcome back. This is Jennifer McGuire. So if you've watched my videos before, you know I love to add a touch of shine to my cards in different ways. Today I thought I'd share with you my favorite way to add a bit of shimmer or metallic shine to stamped images. This works with any stamps that you may have, and I have some tricks for you along the way. I will also talk about the different products that you can use to get these looks. Now, all of the cards that I'm creating today, all three of them, use the same kit. This is a new kit from Gina K called the Pop Art Flowers Kit. Gina's kits are unique in that they have a lot in them. So there is a 6x8 stamp set in here, two 4x6 stamp sets, a stencil, some cardstock, coordinating dies, and a layering guide. So I will be using all these different products in today's video and sharing these techniques. The nice thing about this kit is there's different styles included in it, so you can create a lot of different cards that don't all look the same. Okay, let's get started with our first example, and I'll show you how to add that bit of metallic shine to your stamping and to your stenciled background. For this card, I'm using the 6x8 stamp set that's included in that Gina K kit that I just showed you. And these all line up very easily, and I'll show you a trick to get the perfect alignment. I'll be using a MISTI stamping tool for my stamping, but if you don't have one, I will link here to a video that shows how to do layered stamping without a stamping tool. Okay, so I'm going to start with the leaves first. I really like these leaves. I've stamped the first layer with Gina K Key Lime ink, which is a great bright green ink. After I stamp my first layer, I do like to let that dry completely or heat set it. That way the colors stay crisp and you don't get a muddy image when you add more color on top. Now I'm coming in with the second layer. You can see these are super easy to line up. After I have all the images lined up, I can go ahead and stamp with my next color. And this time I'm using Altenew Lime ink. Before I use a stamp for the first time, I like to use a dry cloth to really rub against the stamp surface. That'll allow the ink to stick to it better. And notice I'm stamping a lot of these at once so that I can make a few cards and even save some for later. Okay, so now I'm lining up the third layer of each of these leaves in my MISTI, and I'll stamp them all with the Gina K Lucky Clover ink. I really like the unique style of these leaves and that I can mix and match them with different stamps that I already have. And I'll actually make a card today that only includes the leaves also. Okay, so now it's time for the flowers that I'll use from that same stamp set. For the most solid image, the first layer, I'm using Gina K Peach Bellini ink, which is one of my all-time favorite colors. And once again, I'm going to stamp a bunch of extras so that I have them left over. Now to line up the second layer of this flower, I thought I would use the trick that I like to use with my stamping tool, and that is to use the printed sheet that comes with your stamps. So this is clear with black printing, and I'm going to line that image up, that second image there, with the stamp that I've already stamped on my cardstock. So you see how it's lined up there? Once I have it in perfect placement, I'll put a couple pieces of temporary tape down. Slide a piece of white cardstock underneath that clear sheet just so I can see better. Line the stamp up with the black printing. Close the MISTI door. Remove everything but our stamped piece of cardstock. And now we can stamp this and it'll be perfectly positioned. I'm going to go ahead and line up the other two flowers. The smallest one's easy to line up without the printed sheet. But for that middle flower, I'm going to use the packaging again to get the perfect placement. Once I have it positioned over my stamping, I will go ahead and tape down that printed sheet, tuck a piece of white cardstock underneath it, just so I can see better, line the stamp up with the black printing, close my MISTI door, and remove everything. Now I can go ahead and stamp my second layer of my flower, and it'll be perfect placement. Now I did stamp this and it ended up being a little too light, so later I'm going to go back and stamp it again and I'll show you that. Okay, so let's do our third layer of stamping. So I'm starting with that middle flower there and lining up the black printing with our stamped image underneath. Once I have it lined up perfect, I tape it in place, slide a piece of white cardstock under there just so I can see better, line up the stamp with the black printing, close the door, and now that's perfectly positioned. And I did that with the other two flowers too. This time I'm using Gina K Coral Reef ink, which is another favorite color. You can see how the second layer kind of gets lost there between the two other shades of color. So I repositioned the second layer once again, and I'm stamping it with a different ink. This is Hero Art's Fresh Peach ink. So if you get layered stamp results and you're not thrilled with them, you can always go back and redo a layer if you want to. Okay, it's time to add some metallic shine to our stamped images. I thought I'd start with the leaves first. For this, I find it best to use an acrylic block. I'm using Gina K Comfort blocks today. I think they're great for stamping. And I'm using Altenew Enchanted Gold pigment ink. Now this is a newer pigment ink, and you can see the two ones that Altenew has come out with. There's also the Antique Gold. They just have a little bit of a different color to them. I find both of these work excellent for this technique, but there are other metallic pigment inks out there, and you can try it with whatever you have. I chose these today because I really am happy with the results and the shine that you get with them. Now, when I ink up my stamp, I'm really kind of rolling my stamp onto the metallic ink pad so that I get a heavy amount of ink on the outside edge and a very light amount of ink on the inside of the stamp. And by the way, the stamp that I'm inking here is the first layer of our layered images, so the most solid layer. That way, when we go to stamp it directly on top of our colored image, it's very easy to line up, and we can be sure to get that metallic ink all across the image. So here you can see some of the shine that we get, and I'll compare it to ones where I haven't added the metallic stamping, and you can see the difference to it. It gives it such a warm glow and lots of shimmer. Okay, so I'll go ahead and continue this with the other shapes. You can watch as I take the solidmost layer and kind of roll it onto my ink pad just to pick up some of that ink, and then I just stamp it directly onto our green stamped image. Keep in mind this is a pigment ink, so it takes some time to dry. So you either want to heat set it or you want to set it aside to dry for some time so you don't accidentally smear it. Now I'm going to do the exact same thing with the flowers. I'm taking the solidmost first layer, rolling it onto my ink pad to pick up some of the metallic ink, and then stamping it directly onto our flower. Okay, so after I did that with all the stamps and leaves, I used the coordinating dies to cut them out. Now it's time to create our note card background. So you can see the stripes there. I'm using the stripe stencil that's included in the Gina K card kit that I showed you earlier. And I have a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch top folding white note card that I've placed underneath it. I'm using a Picket Fence life-changing brush to apply a light amount of Gina K Peach Bellini ink over the stripes. So I'm going very light and trying to keep most of the color to the outside edge. After I've done that, I placed my stencil back over the card, lining it up, and I'm going to use that Enchanted Gold ink and a Tonic blending sponge just to pull some of that gold ink from the edge of the note card in. So you can see I'm keeping it just on that outside edge. So this will go on top of that peach and add just a little bit of metallic shine on the edge. You could use any inking tool you want here. I just happen to have a sponge that already has this ink on it, so I thought I'd go ahead and use it. Okay, now it's time to create the focal point of our card, the area where we will stamp our sentiment. For this, I used the Reverse Confetti Stitched Hex Tag die, which I've been wanting to use for some time now. Really like the style and finishing touches on this. The die set actually comes with a die to create a topper on the tag, but I didn't use it today. I also stamped Hello and Thinking of You onto that tag using the Concord and 9th So Pretty stamp set, and I just stamped that with black ink. So now we can arrange all of these pieces on the front of our card. I laid them all out just temporarily, and then I took a picture of the arrangement with my phone. I find that this is a really easy way to assemble cards. After I did the picture of the phone, it's time to go ahead and glue everything together, and you can see the photo on the phone over there on the left. Another way that you can do this is arrange all of your pieces on the front of your card without adhesive, then take a piece of press and seal or masking paper, press it down on top to pick everything up, flip it over, put glue on the back, and then place it back down on your card, and everything will be positioned perfectly. The reason I was doing it this way is I wanted some pieces to have regular adhesive on the back and some to have foam adhesive. So I decided to do each piece individually. After I had everything arranged, I took a piece of twine doubled it over and tied it into a little bow. I then cut the ends of that and used 2 tiny dots of Gina K Connect liquid adhesive right next to the hole of the tag. And I laid this on top. That way I didn't have to loop through the hole and try to get it perfect. I find that sometimes my bows go wonky if I do that, so this trick makes it look like I tied the perfect bow on the top when really I just glued it there. I also added a few Studio Katia gold glitter gems, and there you can see all the shine that we have on it. I wish it looked as good as it does in real life in the video, but you got to trust me that that little bit of shimmer on the flowers really adds a lot of interest and isn't too overpowering for the color of ink below it. Now remember how I stamped a bunch of leaves earlier? Well, I'm using all of the leftovers on this card example. It was a very simple card to make because I had the stamping done. I had cut out all of my stamping after I added the metallic layer, and I glued a bunch of them with foam tape onto a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch card. I then flipped it over and I'm cutting all the excess that's hanging off the edge. And now we have a background colored in leaves with lots of dimension. If there are any little open areas along the edges, I can use those leftover pieces that I cut off to fill them in, so I can fill in these little spots on the edges. This is one of my favorite reasons to do a bunch of extra stamping and die cut pieces at once, because you can quickly make cards like this with all of those extra pieces. For the You're the Best sentiment strip, I used the other 4x6 stamp set that's included in the kit that I showed you at the beginning of this video. And I also used the Poppy Stamps Luscious Script Hugs die. Now this die actually has 2 sets included. You have the word hugs and the shadow. So I did that from green cardstock and white cardstock. And I'm using my Tonic Midas Touch Shimmer pen to add some gold shimmer on top of the hugs die cut. I could have lightly pressed or used an inking tool to put some of the Enchanted gold ink on top, but honestly I didn't think of it at the time, so I just used my glitter pen. But there you can see the shine on the word hugs and that subtle shine on our stamping that we have in the background. You can definitely see the green through that gold ink because I put such a light layer of stamping on it and really just rolled my stamp into the ink pad instead of getting complete coverage. Okay, my third and final card today uses products again from that Gina K card kit. And I just wanted to show you that this technique of using the metallic ink works with simpler images too. Before I used ones with lots of layering, these have less layering and are mostly just solid images, but it still works great. So I'm stamping those solid images onto white cardstock. I made some of the flowers with Hero Art's Fresh Peach ink and some with Hero Art's Soft Vanilla. Now I'm using a MISTI stamping tool simply because I'm making lots of flowers at once for multiple cards, but you definitely could use an acrylic block for this. This stamp set has little images that you can stamp in the center of your flowers too. So on the yellow, I used Hero Art's Butter Bar ink, and on my peach flowers, I used Gina K Coral Reef ink. Now these flowers I think would be really fun with bright colored inks like neons. I know Gina K just came out with new neon inks, but today I was kind of going with a coral and yellow and green theme, so I decided to stick with that. So after I did all of the stamping on my flowers, it's time to come in and do the metallic stamping. So I'm using the Enchanted Gold still, and notice how I'm trying to just get the ink on the edges of the solid first layer of the stamped images. It's really hard to do when you're using a stamping tool. You can see I'm getting ink everywhere, but it is possible if you're having trouble using an acrylic block to line up the stamping. But for me, I find it best to use an acrylic block for this technique because I find that you can get better smooth coverage on the outside edge of your image that you can stamp on top of your colored stamping. But you definitely could do it this way if you wanted. So I added the metallic ink on top of the coral flowers and also on top of the yellow. And you'll be able to see the gold metallic ink on the yellow a bit more and how it warms up the flowers. Remember, you can put less ink on your stamp if you want, so that it just has a bit of metallic shine. Okay, for the note card, I again used the stencil from the Gina K card kit, and I'm using a sponge and the Enchanted Gold ink just to put some gold stripe on the outside edges of my note card. And by the way, this is a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch Kraft note card. I always make sure to heat set this ink because I don't want to smear it at this point. And I really like that gold look on the Kraft cardstock. Okay, so now we can pull our card together. I also did some leaves from the stamp, and I created a place for my sentiment using this Pink and Main fishtail banner die set. There are a couple different banner die sets from Pink and Main. I used the thin ones, so these are narrow and perfect to put on your card for sentiment. I stamped thank you from the stamp set in the Gina K card kit. And then I added that to the card along with lots of my flowers and leaves that I had cut with my coordinating dies. Now I'm using Gina K Connect liquid adhesive to add some gold glitter gemstones to the center and to scatter around the card. So here you can see that bit of gold that we've added to our card in various places. If you do not have a metallic pigment ink pad, you could also squirt a little bit of gold acrylic paint or paint onto your work surface, pick it up with the sponge and kind of dab it onto your stamp and then stamp with it and then clean your stamp. But I find those pigment inks are excellent for getting this metallic shine. Okay, so there you have it. If you are interested in the products that I've used today, you can check them out in my description below. I also have a couple other videos that are related that you might like, and they're in the middle there. You can also go to my blog by clicking on the top right because I always have a ton more information there. I appreciate you watching. I hope you return again soon and have a wonderful week.